Hey guys, how you guys doing? So today we're going to talk about the Linux file structure. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that notification button. I often talk about how this channel is made for new to Linux users, efficient Linux users as well. One of the things that took me a while to understand as well was actually how the file structure is laid out in Linux. I mean, every operating system has their own file structure that they use and how they are. And they're not really complicated, but they can be confusing when you're migrating over from a different file system structure. So I just kind of want to do a brief overview of the Linux file structure and how it works and files that you may be able to edit or not edit, and places where you may find certain files that you might want to edit to make things happen a little bit faster. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that here in a second. Okay, so here you go. As you can see, I put a graphic over here on the right hand side that literally delineates what each folder is in your root directory. And I've opened up my file manager to my file system, which is pretty much so the root directory. Okay, so here it is. I don't know what AFS is. That was added by probably something that I built in Fedora here, but for the most part everything else is laid out the same. Well, as the graphic shows, in the bin folder, it's essential user command binaries. The boot folder is static files for your bootloader. Dev file is for device files. Etc is for host-specific system configuration. That's where all your configuration files are to be found. Like if we click in it, i3 right here. Here's where your original config file for i3 is kept at. Now, this gets, whenever you do any configuration, you don't do it here. You copy this file here into another configuration in your home directory, and that's the one where the configuration file for the system for your user session will come from. This is for global. So say you have more than one user on this computer that logs in. Say you have your account, a wife's account, child's account, somebody else's account that they log into. Well, this is the configuration file that's used globally across all different accounts if they're all using i3. Editing this one will edit the actual global i3. So you could edit here, but it is a little bit more dangerous than if you did it in your user session file, because in your user session file, you still have this one to fall back onto, so you can delete that one and recopy this one over, and you're still fine if you mess it up or bork it really bad. Whereas if you bork this one, there's no recopying it unless you have it backed up through like time shift or something like that. Otherwise, you're going to have to either go see if you can download it and copy it to here from some other distribution somewhere, or you're going to have to actually wipe and reinstall. So this is an example of what the Etc folder contains. The Etc folder contains all the configuration files for all the applications that are used globally throughout your system. And also, to edit anything in there, you have to have sudo privileges or root privileges to do that in any of these folders outside of your home folder. Anything in your home folder, you do not require root privileges, but all these other folders you do, just so you know. In your home folder, that's got your home directories. That's where 99% of your session lives when you log in through your login manager, whether it's your display manager, whether it's LightDM, SDDM, GDM, it doesn't matter. This is where you're going to log into, is to this specific home folder for that user, which, as you can see, you click on it, then it's got your user or any users in there. Like back at this one, instead where it says Alex, you may have mom, dad, kids, such as whatever you decide to do, whatever. You'll have multiple users in here, and whichever user that you're logging into, that's the folder you want to go into. So for me, it's just simply Alex, and in here I have all my This is build folder for where I've built things before for CMake and stuff. Then you got your standard other folders here. Now, I use Caja, which is what's it came installed on Fedora. So to highlight the folders where other folders are at, they're hidden. They're known as your dot files. And your dot files are this, and I'll show you. So I hit Control H, and it unhides them. Or I'll hit Control H again, and it hides them. If you go up here to View, if your file manager has a view, you can look in there, and you'll see where it says Show Hidden Files. You simply tick the box, and bada boom, there you go. So if you notice, there are files in here that say .dbus, .gnupg, .local, .mozilla, .mplayer. These are all configuration files that are in here for your session. Like you can go right here to the .config for mplayer, open that up, and then you could write configurations or make adjustments here. Now, the most famous one in here that most everybody, if they're in a type of window manager, is going to go to is a .config file. Now, the .config file has all kinds of config files for everything in here for different, like the Dolphin RC, the Kate RC, you know, all the K-Mix, all that stuff. Pavu Control, Any's in here. There's all kinds of stuff. Plus, you have your other folders in here that are more centric to whatever it is that you're trying to do in this file manager. Or what, not trying to do what they've installed to, like i3 here. If you click on it, here's the config file for this session. This is the one that you want to do all your configurations in to make the changes for the i3 instance that you're running in your login session. That's just a kind of a quick overview of the .config file. 9 times out of 10, if you are trying to edit something for a piece of software that you use in your session, this is where you want to go to, right here. Like, also, this is your auto start folder here as well. So you can write a bash script like, let's take a look. So I use dual monitors. And so, well, actually I have 3 monitors, but I did 2 of them that I want to set up a certain particular way. So what I do is I open and create an empty file, and I make a bash script that will lay out my monitors the way that I want them to. And so that is simply done by creating a, let me find, where are you at? Mouse pad to open it up, because that's the text editor I just have installed on here. It came with it. So if you look right here, and I'll make this a full-size window, this is a bash script that automatically executes xrender at these flags that I've given it. That is an example of how you can do a bash script, put it in your auto start, and it will run that on startup. And these are all executables that are done in command line is what it's doing, but it's doing it at a shell level. So anyhow, that's your auto start folder. That could be where you're going to find like programs that start that you don't want them to start. You can come in here, you can find them in there and remove it, and it'll stop them from auto starting. Any other application files might be in here as well that you might want to adjust. That's a look at the .config file in your dot files, what is known that, which is in your home directory. Now, the next comes after that is lib. Now, these are shared libraries. Now, if you notice on mine here, I have a lib64 and a lib. The difference is lib, L-I-B, which is your shared libraries folder. That one is for all the 32-bit programs that might be installed. I'm not sure if there's any in here. There are quite a bit. That came by default from whatever it is that Fedora used, because I have not added any 32-bit programs. lib64 has all the 64-bit versions of those programs, as well as any additional 64-bit only ones. So if you download an application that creates a library that is in 32-bit format or 64-bit format or both, it's going to put it in both those directories. So if you have to hunt up a library for whatever reason, that in something that you're doing, a project, you can find those there. Lost and found is literally that, lost and found. As you can see, when I click on here, you have to have sudo privileges to open that up. So at the moment, I'm not in a root version of the file manager that I'm using. Media. Whenever you install media, removable media, plug it in through either USB or like you have a CD-ROM, this is where it would be mounted at. So if you're trying to browse file manager that is command line, such as Ranger, then you could actually browse media through here as well. You just go there and to the media folder, you open it up and you click it. I have no media mounted, so there's nothing going to be there. The mount folder, now this is where all your mounts are mounted at. Like, for example, any hard drives that you mount that open, mount through your file manager. When I click in here, these are all hard drives that are mounted right now. And also your media folder mounts in here as well. That being said, like if I click on this one, I believe, yeah, this is my Steam hard drive. This one here is going to be my YouTube channel hard drive that's got all my files for my YouTube, for the YouTube channel. And then this one here, I believe is basically, yes, it's an empty drive that I have. I think it's 240 gig for basically, some storage or what have you. And then this one here is another one that I have that has personal stuff on there as well as time shift backups and stuff like that. Those are any internal drives that you're going to find in your machine that are going to be mounted here. The OPT or opt one is for add-on application software packages. When you click on it, so basically any non-ISO installed, when you installed the operating system, files that are added on that are not in there will come here. Like I installed Brave and I installed Zoom. Those two files were added in here to be able to run, and this is where they're at. So these are optional programs that you added that were outside of the base install core. Now the system binaries, or the SBIN file, is this one right here. This has the system binaries. Now the system binaries is basically the binaries that make all your system stuff work. Then you have the serve file, which is your services, your data for services for the system. Then you have your system file as well, which is like your hypervisor, your bus, your clocks, your blocks, your firmwares, kernel modules as well for like CPU frequency that are loaded by the kernel. All that kind of stuff is in there as well. Like I said, these are all modules and stuff that are done, things that are done for your kernel to tell your kernel what to do in your system as well. Then you have your temp file, which is any temporary files that are written while you're using something, and it's written to a temp file. This is where you're going to find them. Then you have user. Now this is all your user stuff that is done for users. Like in here you'll find user share, which is where these are all the applications that are automatically installed for a base user. Like when you create another user, it'll have access to all these. These programs will appear for him or her. Any yours as well. Any other user that you add will have these common core packages. It'll list, like, here's where the backgrounds for your system are. For images, for like Fedora 36, these are the Fedora 36 default ones. So I mean, they have, this is where backgrounds are. Also, I believe if you go further down, you may find wallpapers. Your system wallpapers are in the W section under wallpapers. Yep, like see they have wallpapers here. You have Fedora 36 wallpapers with all of these images. They're all the same, but they're different resolutions. If you look under, I believe, Fedora, just regular Fedora, it's the same Fedora ones that are not Fedora 36 specific, under the same resolutions. Current, like your X11 sessions in here, wire plumbers in here. There's all the stuff that you use to make your user session work are in here. You can find things in here, you can edit things in here, but understand that you're editing it for user sessions. Anything that any user uses or is in here. So this is another way of editing something that might be something that you use globally as well. And then under var, var is a file system that is used system specific, and it is one that whenever you're using an application or program, in the system that you call up through either command line or a graphical user interface, and it writes a file to be used at the time. This is where it's going to write it at. And then once you close it out, it should delete it from there. Or it'll keep it there for preservation. It'll put it specifically into these different files. As you can see, the temp one, it will delete when you close it, is out of there. If it's one that it's going to leave, you know, like some game files, it'll write in here. That's why most of these are empty, because it only writes it and then gets rid of it. You know, like any database ones, like sudo database, I don't have permission to go in there, but anyhow, those are permanent. Those will be there and they stay there. But for the most part, it writes it, then gets rid of it. So that is how that works for the var file system. And then of course you've got in this root folder, like the process one. Now this one here is your, like when you open up htop and you see the process ID, that correlates with these files right here. Because when a process is running, it uses not the name of the process as far as like the program, it uses it to identify it to the computer on a binary level, which is this binary numbers. So that being said, if you open these up, like this will have the process ID, and I don't know what this is for, but this is actually all the processes that runs when you run that process. That's the process file where those processors are kept at. And if you look down here, it's process information on the little diagram that I've got down here where my head's at. Let me move my head so that you could see the full thing. See down here at the bottom where it says process information. That's where that is giving you the information on what that is. Basically, that is a look at the Linux file structure in itself, quick and dirty. I found this graphic that I used to kind of delineate everything and make it a little bit more legible so you can follow along. I found it at geeks2geeks.com, I believe. You can go over there and also read up on some other information that they have there as well that might be useful to you. So if you are unsure about how the Linux file structure works, this is a great little tutorial for it, as well as you can go there and read more on it. If you had an idea and you needed some clarification, hopefully this helped you out as well. Either way, please leave a comment below. Tell me what you guys think about this video. I plan on doing some more like these as well for other things. Like, share, and comment below what you think. If you have anything you guys want me to do, please, you can either email me at thelinuxtube.com@gmail.com or private message me at the LinuxTube on Facebook Messenger, or private message me on Twitter. You know, I'm also on Twitter. I'm on all the social platforms. So yeah, just please, guys, let me know what you guys think, what you guys want, and let's do it. Other than that, you guys keep on Linuxing and have a great day. Thanks for all that you guys do.